All right, in this video, we're going to enter our text and warp it to put on top of our postcard. So the first thing we're going to do is go down to the text tool over on your toolbar, and you're going to click it one time. Before you start writing, I want you to change your font style to a specific font. We need it big, fat, and chunky. So you're going to click the drop-down menu with the fonts, and in the Find menu, click right here once, and you're going to type in this word, encode, E-N-C-O-D-E. And when you do, a whole bunch of encodes will show up. And what you want to do is to get the fattest one that says encode sans semi-C, but you want the big, fat, chunky one, and that's the one you're going to click on. Now, before you do anything else, you're going to, now your slider I think is down about 24 pixels. You want to click this drop-down menu and then take this blue slider and move it all the way to 150, and we'll adjust it after we write. So you're going to take your mouse, put it on top of your picture, and click one time. You may not see anything, but when you start to write, I'm going to do New York, and it will show up. And there you go. It's not the color. Yours is probably black. Mine ended up red. But once you get that in there, please click the check mark at the top of the screen. So now that you've clicked that check mark, please go over to your Move tool at the top of your toolbar. Click that. Make sure Transform Controls is checked like mine, and then move over to your Word, grab a corner, click and hold, and size it up. Make it a pretty decent size, but also make sure that you leave some room on the edges left and right because you don't need it completely huge. So now that you've got it sized up, you're going to click the check mark and accept that change. All right, now that you have sized up your word, we're going to make those letters squish up closer together because they're a little too far apart for what we need it to do. So over in your layers panel, make sure that your text layer, in this case it says New York, is turned on. It's light gray. And then you're going to come up over here to this big letter T, and when you click it, this pop-out menu shows up. And you want to take a look at the tracking. It is currently at 0, and I'd like you to make it negative 40, and then hit the Enter key, and you will see that your text gets closer together. All right, then come over to your text, and you're going to grab a corner, and you're going to size it up just a little bit more because that making the text squish up, it made everything smaller. So please do that. And once it's sized up, you know the drill. Click the check mark. Now I have to change my font color to black. Yours might be black already. Last time I used Photopea, I did something in red. So I need to change that. So I'm going to click my text tool, and I'm going to click and hold and highlight all of my words. And I'm going to come up to the red box in the tool options bar, click that, and I'm going to choose black, click OK, and then click the check mark. It's important that it's black. For this next step, we are going to warp our word. So please make sure that your text tool is chosen on the toolbar, and then go up to the word warp, click it once, and the warp menu will show up. So please click the word none, and you want to go down to rise. Once you're down to rise, you will see that it warps. Please make sure the bend is at 50%. All right. Bend at 50%. We're going to leave horizontal and vertical distortion at 0. Once you have that, click OK. All right, now that we've warped our word, it's time to move it back into place if it's not in the center somewhere. So if you'll notice on my layers panel, my text is in between background layer and my bottom layer, and it should be on top. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to move this. So I'm going to click and hold my layer and put it above background. And now I can come down, click the letters in New York, and move it back up. So I'm going to move it something about like that. And you'll notice the red line that shows up, the vertical up and down red line. That tells you you've got it perfectly centered left and right. Now, if you move it up or down a little bit more and get the horizontal red line, that means you have it centered top and bottom. So when it looks like this, I've got it centered right on the page, left and right, and top and bottom. All right, now that it is in the center of the document, we are going to add some text effects onto our text. So if you go up to your text layer and move out into an empty space and double click, the text effects or the layer style will show up. If your menu is over on this side, that's fine. I prefer to take mine and just move it to the right because it's easier for me to see. Go down to stroke. This will put an outline around the outside of your letters. Click stroke once to turn on the layer. Make sure the check mark is blue. And if your stroke, it may start out as black, which you can't see anything. We're going to make a white stroke, so you can click the color picker. Mine's white already. And make sure that it's white up in the top left-hand corner, and then click OK. Please keep the stroke about a 3-pixel thickness. Otherwise, it's too thick and it's not going to look right for our project. So maybe between a 3 and a 5, it's your choice. I personally like the thinner one at 3. Now, in the menu on the left on your layer style, go down to 3D all the way on the bottom. Give that that section a click, and your 3D effects will show up. Now, first of all, from the top down, your opacity should be at 100%. That way you can see all of it. If it's less than 100, the 3D effect becomes a little more see-through, and we don't want that. Your angle, you can turn this radius around this circle and change the angle of your 3D. You can put this pretty much anywhere you want it. That's fine with me. This is just my personal favorite. I like it to look like this, maybe a 30 or a 40. The distance slider will either make this show up tighter against your letters, which you don't want it thin, and you also don't want it super thick either. Maybe somewhere in between, probably nothing more than about a 50 or 60 right in there. That looks good to me, so I'll stick with, actually, I don't like it's still a little too thick. I'll stick with the 50. Shrink, we're going to leave alone. We're going to also leave alone this light. Please don't click that. It really screws things up. But your darken you can play with. And as you move this slider, you will notice that it becomes darker on the edges or not dark at all on the 3D edges. Please darken it down a little bit so you get a gradient color from light red to dark red, or in my case, light red to dark red. In your case, it might be a different color. So once you're happy with all those adjustments, please click the OK. And now it's looking pretty cool.